In this internet age, we have so much information right at our fingertips. And this has given rise to a lot of people who think that they are experts on any given subject simply because they read something about it on the internet. But I think there is a lot of wisdom and maturity in being able to admit, I don't know, especially when it comes to the ways and to the mysteries of God. That's what we're going to talk about today. Hey there, St. Paul family, and whoever else happens to be watching. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Today's psalm that we're taking a look at is one of the shortest psalms in the Bible, but I believe one of the most profound. In fact, this is what Charles Spurgeon, the great 19th century evangelist, says about Psalm 131. This is one of the shortest psalms to read, but one of the longest to learn. Since it is so short, I'm going to go ahead and read these words out loud to you today, and I encourage you to listen and reflect on them. O Lord, my heart is not lifted up. My eyes are not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me. But I have calmed and quieted my soul. Like a weaned child with its mother, like a weaned child is my soul within me. O Israel, hope in the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. This is a psalm written by David, and even if it doesn't specifically say so, I imagine that David wrote this psalm as he was a little bit older in life, a little bit more wise, a little bit more mature. After all, he is able to admit to and confess his own limitations. He's given up on pride. He's confessing that there are many things that he does not know or understand. These sorts of insights can only be learned in the school of experience. After all, we human beings spend so much time chasing after glory and achievements and trying to acquire knowledge and insight. But all of that has limits. And we don't necessarily recognize that at first, especially as we're trying to make a name for ourselves, and we can get so filled with pride by what we've been able to accomplish and the name that we've made for ourselves and the knowledge that we are able to acquire. And yet there remain some mysteries that we cannot understand or explain, especially when it comes to God. There are things that we can't peer behind the curtain and figure out. There are questions that God hasn't seen fit to answer. And the question that Psalm 131 seems to raise is, can you embrace the mystery and your own limitations? Well, David can. At least at this point in his life, he says he has calmed and quieted his soul. And then he brings an illustration, a comparison, like a weaned child with its mother. A child who is not yet weaned, when it's in its mother's presence, when it's close to its mother, is only concerned with what it can get from its mother. And if he doesn't get what he wants, then he cries and complains and is dissatisfied. But a child who has been weaned, who has gone through that difficult process, can simply be in the presence of his mother without trying to get something from her. And David says this is a picture of a believer who has such a secure intimacy with God that they can simply rest in God's presence. They're not concerned with what they can get from God. They're not agitated or dissatisfied or demanding something from God or asking questions constantly. Rather, in God's presence, they calmed and quieted their soul and are content. They're satisfied. And this level of contentment, I believe, is truly made possible only through Jesus. After all, he is the one who invited us in Matthew 11. Come to me, you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. When you discover that in Jesus all of your eternal needs are met, that in Jesus you are forgiven, you are loved and cared for perfectly, that God's grace is sufficient for you, that his mercy is never ending, then you too can calm and quiet your soul and simply be in God's presence, to enjoy him and place your trust and hope in him, and know that all things will work for good in the lives of those who love him, who are called according to his purposes. May God grant to each one of us such wisdom and maturity to be able to trust in the Lord, even when we don't understand, or even when life isn't going our way. Will you pray with me? Give us the faith of children, Lord. Calm us and quiet us by your presence in word and sacrament. In the name of the Christ child. Amen. Our song today is based on the words of Psalm 131, and it's a great, quiet, calm reflection on those words. It's called Come to the Quiet. It's written back in 1989 by John Michael Talbot, and I encourage you to click on the link that will take you to the YouTube video of this song. Listen to it and let it calm and quiet your soul as you reflect on the words of David this day. Until next time, God's grace and peace be with you all.